left-handed shooter here with Southpaw Outdoors, and due to recent events and the increase in gun sales, there's a whole lot of new gun owners. And one of the essential things that I don't think I've ever put into video that I thought I should, especially now with a huge wave of new gun owners, is the 4 firearm safety rules. So let's get into it. So for demonstration purposes, I'll be using 2 of my personal firearms for this video. First one is my original Glock 17. Got some slide work done, but as you guys can see, no rounds in the chamber, nothing in there. Let's put that one down. Next one that I have here is my SIG 1911. Again, nothing in there. So there's 4 safety rules, and there's kind of that 5th rule that's kind of unspoken, just kind of known. But a lot of people debate this because one of the safety rules that I learned when I was in the military applies to weapons with safeties. So in that case, it would be in reference to, say, a 1911 that has an external safety. But that rule would not apply to a Glock that only has internal safeties and the trigger safety that you guys see right here. Alright, so let me go ahead and go into the first one. The very first weapon safety rule is to treat every weapon as if it were loaded. Whether it's a handgun or a long gun, if you're at the range with a buddy, you always want to treat that firearm like if it's loaded, even if you know yourself that you cleared it, checked it, everything, set it down. But if you walked away and lost eye contact with that gun, it's always smart to treat it as if it were still loaded. You don't know in that short, brief period that you may have walked away and came back that your buddy might have loaded a magazine, put a few rounds down range, left the magazine in there, and there's, say, 2 more rounds left in there. So every time, whenever you handle a firearm, whenever you pick it up, keep your finger outside of the trigger well, treat it as if it were loaded. If you're unsure, go ahead, remove the magazine, ensure there's nothing in there, point in a safe direction, rack the slide, visually inspect it, and know that there's nothing in the chamber. We'll do the same thing with the 1911. This one hammers back, so that means you can activate the safety. So right there, it's locked. It won't let you slide or it won't let you rack the slide to the rear. Remove the magazine, drop the safety, point in a safe direction, rack it back, nothing in the chamber. At this point, you know the hammer's back, so you can re-engage the safety, or point in a safe direction, you know it's empty, squeeze the trigger, send the hammer home, and leave it be. So remember, at any time, always treat the weapon as if it were loaded with the round in the chamber. Never point at anything that you don't want to shoot. But that's one of the next safety rules. So let's go into the second safety rule. Alright, so for the second safety rule is never point your weapon at anything you do not intend to shoot. That means if you're down at the range and you're getting ready to put some rounds down range, you never want to turn around, flag somebody to the left or to the right of you, pointing the gun at them. If you don't intend to shoot that target, don't put your firearm in that direction. If you've ever been to an indoor or outdoor range, they're always telling you, hey, keep your muzzle down range, pointed at the target, even when you're loading. If you're bringing it in for a reload or whatever, bring it into your workspace. Make sure that barrel is pointing down range away from you. You're not pointing at anything next to you. You're not turning around and showing your buddies like, oh, hey, look, cool, check it out, you know. Always want to be safe handling it. So if you don't intend to shoot it, don't point the firearm in that direction. Going on to the third safety rule. The third safety rule is going to be keep your finger out of the trigger well or out of the trigger guard until you're ready to fire. So what that means is whenever you're handling that firearm, wherever the trigger is, depending if you have a handgun, long gun, whatever, it doesn't matter, keep your finger out of this area. Don't put it in there. Don't handle your firearm. I'm going to do it obviously for demonstration purposes. Don't hold your firearm like this, especially if it's loaded, especially if you think you might accidentally flag someone by pointing the gun at them, which goes back to rule number 2. Don't point it at anything you don't intend to shoot. So keep your finger straighten off the trigger until you're ready to fire. That means even when you're pointing down range, get your target sighted in. When you're ready to fire, then you bring your finger down, squeeze the trigger, and fire. Here's where the next rule, number 4, is a little bit debatable. I learned it again in the military because all the weapons that we handled had external safeties. In the case of a firearm like a Glock or other firearms that don't have external safeties that you manually have to disengage in order to use a firearm, this rule wouldn't apply. So the fourth safety rule is, the fourth safety rule, as I learned it, is keep your weapon unsafe until you intend to fire. So in that case, we go back to my 1911. So right now, hammer's down, safety, you can't engage it, can't move it anywhere. There's nothing in the magazine. So we'll go ahead and slide the back, or lock the slide back. Sorry about that. Show there's nothing in there. So in doing so, that brought the hammer back. That means the hammer's loaded. If we were to insert a magazine, re-rack it, it'll actually have a round in the chamber. Obviously, I don't want to do that. But at this point, you now have a manual safety that you can engage on the outside of the firearm. So in this case, fourth safety rule, as I learned them, is keep your weapon unsafe until you intend to fire. So that means same thing, keep your finger off, keep the safety on, sight in down range. Once you acquire your target, drop safety, squeeze trigger, fire your round, or continue to fire as needed. So that's the fourth one, but again, for some people it's debatable. They don't like including it because of the safeties. Not all firearms have safeties. I'd rather include it, but that brings me to what some people would refer to as the fourth safety rule, but to me, it's the fifth safety rule. So let's go ahead and go into that one real quick. For me, it was the unspoken rule when I was in the military. There was the 4 main rules that I just covered, but the 5th one was know your target and what lies beyond it. That applies for a lot of things, whether you're doing shooting at the range, shooting outdoors, recreationally, if you're hunting, whatever. You always want to know when you're handling your firearms, if you're intending to shoot at something, know what lies beyond the target. Do you have a backstop? Is it, a berm of dirt that you built yourself at your home range? Or if you're at the outdoor range, they have a berm of dirt that you're shooting at in the distance, whatever the range distance might be. Or an indoor range, they have those backstops at the very far back of the range, so you know what you're shooting at. If you're doing recreational shooting outdoors and you're shooting at, a couple hundred yards away and you want to do long range shooting, you always want to know, if you're shooting at the tree line, you want to know if there's any targets, any animals, any people in the distance that you could potentially hit. So you want to know what your target is and what lies beyond it. So always be cautious when handling firearms, and just remember these 4, in some cases 5 weapon safety rules. If you guys got any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and leave them below. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos in the future. Alright guys, take it easy.